Morning, everybody. It's Phil here live on the Ginger Nut Marketing Podcast website, on the Facebook page, and on the podcast as well. It's been a few weeks since I have spoken, so I thought I'd jump on and have a quick chat about a few things that I am thinking about and focused on at the moment, which is predominantly around the Digital Leaders course, which we're running here at Liverpool Science Park. So today is Wednesday, which means it's Digital Leaders Day here at Elephant Digital. So most Wednesdays we're running our Digital Leaders program, and we have a number of cohorts running throughout the year. So today I've got two sessions today. I've got a morning session and I've got an afternoon session. So a busy day ahead. This morning we're doing the last module, which is the final wrap-up Digital Leaders course. And then later this afternoon we're doing session 3, which is our paid search, paid advertising module. So a very exciting day today, lots to do, but I was really keen to go live before we started the day. What I want to talk about today is digital leadership, or more specifically, leadership in a digital age. And what does that mean? I'm a leader. I'm a leader of business. I obviously have a digital creative agency, which is my core business. So I'm at the heart of sort of digital and digital leadership, and it's something that I believe in. It's something that I champion, and it's something that I strive to improve every day. But many people who work in either a marketing capacity, a business development capacity, or in fact even a business growth or a leadership role, a director role in a business, have responsibilities for growing the business, growing revenues, improving profits. And we all live in this digital age. We all live in 2019 as it is today. And we're all striving to engage with the latest forms of marketing. We're all striving to understand our customer better. And we're all striving to have a better connection with our customers, because we know a better connection with our customers will result in a better relationship, a better understanding of what we do and the value we can bring, and ultimately and hopefully more revenue, more success, more profit. I think it's really important to think about the customer in everything that we do. In fact, many marketing gurus and marketing experts say placing the customer at the heart of everything that you do is essential if you're going to be successful. And I like to reflect on my time both working in industry and working in marketing. And when I think about the way that marketing has evolved over the last 50 to 100 years, there's some interesting shifts that have occurred, quite fundamental shifts that I think are really important. I really like Philip Kotler's book, Marketing 4.0. And in this book, he talks about marketing having reached its 4th generation, its 4th evolution in the last 50 to 100 years. He starts off talking about how in the sort of 30s, 40s, 50s, we had product-centric marketing. We were focused on creating amazing products, or should I say products that we thought we could sell to the mass public. So I'm thinking about the TV dinner era. I'm thinking about dishwashers and washing machines. I'm thinking about Henry Ford and the cars. I'm thinking about all the products and services that we started to want to consume post-war, because the disposable income at the time was slightly higher than pre-war, for example. So we had product-centered marketing. It was all about selling the features and the benefits of a product. It was all about witty, interesting, inspiring, creative content, copy, headlines that would inspire your customers to action. And because we hadn't really had this process for this readily available set of products, people were excited, intrigued, and in many senses won over by really intelligent and really creative product marketing. Then I think moving towards the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, we shifted that product focus to be more of a customer focus. And it was all about understanding our customer. And in this year, we have the advent and the creation of qualitative and quantitative customer research processes to understand our customer and fundamentally get to the nub, the reason of why customers were buying these products. We also moved into an era where we wanted to understand buyer psychology, or the reason that a person would buy a product, the psychological reason behind the buying process. And marketing became a lot more about understanding what the customer needed and then relaying that back to the customer in the form of advertising, straplines, content, etc. Then in probably the 90s and early noughties, we had what's called human-centric marketing. So this is marketing 3.0. And in human-centric marketing, it was more focused around understanding the human as an individual. So less as a customer set, a group of people. We started and we wanted to try to understand the customer as an individual. So things like psychographics were born. So we had demographics, which came out of the customer-centric marketing era. Then we had psychographics that came into effect in the human-centric era, probably it's still in use today. But it was more about understanding the individual user, customer, or human behind the transaction. And if we could group users into smaller and smaller segments, smaller and smaller micro niches, micro tribes, we could offer more products and services that would meet those needs. So the classic example was one of the tomato bolognese companies in America went on a pretty extensive exercise to see which type of tomato sauce to go with your spaghetti would be the most effective and ultimately that would sell the most. And there was a man that did this piece of research, and the ragu company, they were determined to say, come back to us with the ideal tomato sauce. This man, who was one of the founders of the customer research age, he came back and he said, actually, I've been across the whole of America and I've asked tens of thousands of people, and actually people like lots of different types of tomato sauce. So instead of making one tomato sauce that was the ideal level of chunkiness or the ideal level of flavor, make a vast variety of sauces, some chunky, some not so chunky, some flavorsome, some not so flavorsome, some spicy and some not so spicy, and market to the individual, market to these micro niches. And I think that was a huge and fundamental shift in the way we think about marketing, which brings us to the last kind of 10 to 15 years, really, since the advent of the internet and what Philip Kotler calls marketing 4.0. Now, marketing 4.0 fundamentally is about understanding that our customer interacts with your brand, your service, your company in a variety of different ways. And fundamentally, they interact with your company both offline and online. And the interactions between offline and online have become incredibly merged. So much so that the buying process in 2019 can be incredibly complex. Not that necessarily the user is aware of this buying cycle, because as a user, we want the minimum amount of effort to get the maximum amount of return when it comes to buying and sourcing products and services. But fundamentally, today we use lots of different channels on and offline to make buying decisions, to do research, and ultimately to choose the products or services that solve our problems. And in Philip's book, he talks a lot about how do we deal with this kind of change, this shift in perception, this shift in the way that people buy our products and services. And fundamentally, it comes down to one thing: understanding the way the world's changed. And in the last 20 years, the world has changed and shifted towards a more digital economy, a more digital focused marketing. And that's really where we are today. On our digital leadership course, we talk a lot about leadership. We talk a lot about the different channels to market, such as paid advertising, organic, social media, branding, and websites. But the key really is to understand that your buyer interacts at many different levels, in their own time, in their own space, in their own way. And that's the key learning to take away, really. If we're going to understand the modern world of marketing, we need to understand the modern customer. The second thing I wanted to talk about today was about how we break through the noise in this crowded and slightly more complex world, this marketing 4.0 world that we're in now. I believe Seth Godin has a really good mantra for this. And I believe his mantra is what is going to help us and inspire us to achieve success in this marketing 4.0 world. Seth Godin, in his book, Purple Cow, and in many other books that he's written as well, champions the belief that all companies, all products, or services should stand out in the market by being remarkable. That's an interesting term, being remarkable. And I know you would question, what does it mean? Being remarkable means being remarked upon, having the ability for your customers to remark upon your quality, on your price, on your service delivery, on your customer support. However it is you think you can be remarkable in your sector, then that could be something you should think about. How do you stand out? And the analogy Seth uses is, if you were driving down a road and you saw a purple cow in a field full of normal black and white cows, it would stand out. It would be remarkable. So not that I'm suggesting you go out and paint a cow and put your logo on it, but the thought process behind that is something I'd really like you to think about, and I'd like you to explore. The challenge with the purple cow analogy, as Seth talks about in his book, is if everybody changes their marketing effort and everybody paints their cows purple, you no longer stand out. It just becomes a cow. And I love this analogy, and I find it very interesting and obviously quite silly at the same time. But it makes me think about how I'm going to stand out. Not for the long term, but right now. And there's the kind of juxtaposition there. There's the challenge, because we know we have core values as a company and as a company owner. And we know we have a core reason why our customers buy our products and services. So fundamentally, we don't want to change the product or service to the detriment of our audience, our customer base, so that they stop buying. But fundamentally, we have competition. We have competing companies, competing products and services in the market, either existing or new entrants that are going to come in. And they're going to make every difference to your marketing efforts, because you need to adapt and you need to change. You need to go with the flow. You need to accept the competition, move past the competition, and be remarkable. And that's the key. You've got to keep innovating, constantly assess your market, assess your product, assess the competition, and think of ways to be different, to stand out. Standing out for some people may mean redesigning the product or service. It may be a very physical, aesthetic redesign. It may be in your messaging. It may be a different strapline, a different positioning statement, a different focus or a different shift towards a different USP or feature. Or it could be a fundamental rethink of the way you think about your company. So, for example, there is a great case study, and I can't for the life of me think of the name, a big trucking lorry company in the US that were at the forefront of lorrying and haulage for hundreds of years, from like the 19th century onwards. And it came to the 70s, 80s, and the grandson took over the business, and he started to realize that they were losing market share, that revenues were falling. And what he realized is that they weren't in the trucking or the haulage industry. They had a brand, this US brand that I can't remember the name, it was well known in every household. And what they did is they started to create products. They started to productize and create toys and small trucks and all sorts of different vehicles that kids could play with, because they recognized the brand. And suddenly they became a product company, and they became more than just a company that got people from A to B. They became synonymous as a brand that resonated with the American people as heritage, as part of their culture. And I think that's a really interesting shift, to go from a haulage company to basically a product-led company. But what they did is they understood their DNA, but fundamentally they realized that the world was changing around them, and they needed to adapt. They needed to be remarkable. I hope that was useful. I hope you got some value in that. As always, please like, please share, and please keep in touch. Thank you very much. Have a great day.